Tanner Bibee, we sort of take for granted that he's just going to continue to be a rock-solid force at the top of this rotation. And if we do that, which may be dangerous, but you also add in a Gavin Williams being that front-of-the-rotation starter, starting to fulfill that promise that we felt years ago, then this team definitely is a force to be reckoned with in this division. Ooh, you know the season's almost here when we've already done hot takes. That's now behind us. We heard some of our listeners' hot takes, which you can find at patreon.com/SelbyIsGodcast. Now we're on to our brackets, Zach.
Do. Can I do that?
Shh. You have to do it like off key or something. I don't want YouTube to
That's
recognize
the only way
that.
I know how.
Strike us down, and we're no longer on YouTube because you're deep into copyright. We can get away with that at Patreon, but we can't do that here. So just whatever you think of when you think of your bracket and filling it out, do that in your head mentally, but don't actually say it out loud. Is that cool?
Okay, just pretend I'm humming that theme you know so well.
It's like the one time of year I see a smile on your face, unlike the people at Starbucks that apparently don't ever see you smile.
Oh, but hold on.
Ooh, an update, huh?
I go to the same Starbucks every morning, and I was. It's funny because I was wondering the other day, like, I wonder if they know me. I had a fun bit of I don't know, sinus infection or congestion or something going on, allergies last week, which you may have heard if you listened to our episodes, and so I went to our favorite Thai spot in Goodyear, Arizona, Thai Orchid Garden. 3 straight nights to get their super spicy soup to try to help clear out those sinuses. Didn't work, but I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, is this becoming a thing where they're going to expect me at this time, getting the same thing? So I go to Starbucks. It's every morning. And I'm like, these people have to know me by now. I get the same thing every day. And then I walk in. And they usually write a little something on my cup, right? Like they write, have a good day, or draw a star, or say thank you, or enjoy. And the day that I was wondering if they were starting to recognize me, my cup said, smile more. So then I'm like, oh, guess they do recognize me.
They watch our show, apparently.
So then I went in the next morning, and I'm thinking, all right, I either need to have an angry, stoic face or just, show every tooth in my mouth. And my cup said, happy Sunday with a heart.
Ooh.
So I'm getting mixed messages here.
Maybe they like you the way that you are.
Are they just messing with my head?
They might be doing that too. I've long subscribed to the theory that they get your name wrong on purpose, because then you go to social media and say, look at my cup, they got my name so wrong. And then everyone says, that's so funny. You know what I'm in the mood for, though? Some Starbucks. I think it's a thing deep inside your brain. They plant that, you put it on social media, and it's free publicity for them.
Could be.
Tell me I'm wrong.
That's genius.
There is reason to smile.
How do you spell TJ wrong?
I now go with Anthony, by the way, because people go, did you say TJ or PJ or DJ or BJ? No, none of that. Let's just go with Anthony. It's harder to screw that up. So I tell them it's Anthony anytime I have a to-go order. And then sometimes I'll forget that it's Anthony. So I'll be like, Anthony. They'll be just, oh, wait, that's me. That's me.
And then it says ANTHOKNEE.
The double E at the end. Have to go with that. There is reason to smile, perhaps, if what we heard from Stephen Vogt is a thing, which apparently we talked about it. Stephen Vogt has talked about it now, too. Jose Ramirez in that 2 spot behind Stephen Kwan. I know we made a big deal about it on that show. In the grand scheme of things, as long as you're not batting Jose Ramirez 7th, the difference between 2 and 3 is not that much. And if Jose legitimately has some reason behind it that he doesn't like the 2 spot, he's so good, okay, you'll find a way to an adjustment. But he's smart. I feel like the 2 spot is a perfect fit, not only because you want to get him just a few more plate appearances throughout the year, but it makes the lineup better when you put Kwan and Ramirez back-to-back, lefty switch, then you can come back lefty switch, right? You could balance it so much better. So when I heard that bit of news, Zach, I was excited. Clearly he listens to our show. He's now taking heed of our advice.
Yeah, I think having those 2 pesky hitters back-to-back will pay dividends. And then you can, the 3 through 5 spots, some combination of Manzardo, Thomas, and Santana, you can stack that depending on if it's a lefty or a righty. And I think the lineup is in as good a shape as it can be. So go listen to all the reasons we listed for why this makes sense, and has for a long time. And I think we've seen them toy with it in the past, so it's not like this is some epiphany that Stephen Vogt just had one night in the middle of his sleep. This is something they've thought about for a long time, and I think they're finally in a place where everybody's on board.
Any epiphanies watching the spring breakout game? You see all these young players you don't get to watch all the time.
Actually, yes. First of all, just a cool event. Okay. A great idea by MLB, and let's give them credit because we slam them a lot for a lot of things that are justified. But I think they've done a good job of. I do think in sports, like we sometimes we get caught up too much in the next big thing instead of what's right in front of our faces. Whether it's the NFL draft,
who us? We don't do that,
or top prospect lists. But it's fun and it's a good way to grow the game and get people excited for young players, which is important. So first and foremost, that felt fortunate that we got to see the Mariners and Guardians. I know Keith Law at The Athletic has the Mariners as his top farm system and the Guardians as number 5.
Well, got to rethink that now because Guardians beat them by 1. That tells you everything. That's, right. That's all you need to know.
And there was a ton of talent, and you could tell. Whether you want to talk about the Mariners switch pitcher, who got Travis Bazzana out once left-handed, once right-handed. He was impressive. The guy who stood out to me the most, I thought was the best player on the field, was Angel Henao. I think there's probably some middle infield prospect fatigue with the fan base, understandably so. And he's sort of flown under the radar. His stats have been incredible at the plate, but it's like, okay, well, wake me up when he's not just another one of Owen Miller, Tyler Freeman, Angel Martin, all the guys we've seen already, right? But the guy hit the ball really hard. The guy had a rocket arm at shortstop, looked athletic, looked like a dude. That's my scouting for you. So he definitely stood out, and stood out in a lineup, by the way, that is loaded. We've talked about it. Obviously, they're known as the pitching factory, and they've struggled to develop hitters over the years. But I feel like this is different. I know they've tried to make some changes on the hitting side over the last few years. They've tried to replicate some of the things they've done with the pitching development pipeline, and I think you're seeing it. There's a reason that like 9 of their top 10 prospects are position players. There's a reason that like it feels different. It's not just the toolsy middle infielder or athletic outfielder who you hope can make enough contact. No, it's dudes who can hit first. And you see that when you look at a lineup, all left-handed or switch hitters, by the way. When you look at a lineup where it's like, okay, like I know I want to watch Bazzana hit, but oh yeah, here's Ralphie Velasquez. Oh, Henao can just rake. Cooper Ingle is on top 100 prospect list now. Like Welbin Francisca at the bottom of the lineup is a lower level guy who's catching some attention. So you start to dream up what the lineup could look like, and I know it never works as seamlessly as you envision, but this game didn't include Chase DeLauder. This game didn't include Juan Brito. And I just think there's a ton. I think we're going to be saying as soon as next year that the lineup is the strength of this team.
I don't know if I'm prepared for that.
Isn't that weird?
I'm not mentally prepared for that. And we've seen them target guys that are less of just the athletic middle infielder with a lot of contact skill. And we can, because we did it with Jose, because we did it with Francisco Lindor, we can recreate him in the lab. And they went about that. And I don't disagree with trying to recreate that. Often you might find someone that's overlooked because they don't have the skills that pop initially, but you think you can draw that out of them because you did it twice, right? Well, we're getting further and further removed from that being something that they did. And yes, you still have Jose Ramirez as the success story to point to every day, but they weren't having a lot of luck developing in the same way. Now, they haven't completely abandoned that. Like Juan Brito is very similar to that. You're looking for a guy with good discipline skills, good contact, middle infield, can move elsewhere, but you're hoping you add power as his career blossoms, and that's happened a little bit. I mean, he hit 21 last year in the minor leagues. But they've also just they've expanded further. Now they're willing to look just bat first, and that's changed some of the outlook. But the pitching has not gone away completely, even though we're kind of again in this lull. They do this where they churn out a lot of pitching, and then there's a little bit of lull as they make their way to the major league level, and then you're waiting for the next group of guys to come up, and they've had this it's like a little bit of a cycle. And now we kind of anticipate we're in this little bit of a down stretch in the cycle. But then here's Parker Messick, who comes up and showcases something pretty encouraging in the breakout game. Even Keith Law, your colleague, saying that he came away extremely encouraged. Now, you try to not look at just a one-game sample like this and change completely what you think about a guy. But kind of like the conversation we were having about Gabriel Arias, where a 116-mile-per-hour ball off the bat at least tells you that he could do that once. And so it's like a one-pitch outcome that maybe slightly changes what you think. In the case of a pitcher, showcasing some increased velocity, which Messick did, that makes you raise your floor a little bit. Even if it's just a one-game thing, seeing a guy raise his velocity, instantly just makes him a little bit... If it's not telling you that he's a better pitcher than you initially thought, it's giving him more room for error if he's going to make mistakes in the plate. You just throw the ball 2 or 3 miles per hour faster. You go from low 90s to now being able to touch in the mid 90s. That's a big difference for a pitcher.
Yeah.
And so now Messick is someone that maybe has worked his way a little bit more into the radar beyond just being a back of the rotation guy.
Yeah, they've got a lot of lefties who throw 90. Will Dion, Doug Nikhazy, Tugboat. Although they love his fastball. It sneaks up on hitters, I think, and has a bunch of perceived movement. But Messick can stand out above the rest if he's touching 94, 95. He was on, I think Fangraphs stuck him in their top 100 prospect list. And it wasn't 99. I think he was I don't want to mess this up, maybe in the 60s or 70s. And that was the first I think anyone has ever placed him on one of those lists and turned some heads. Are we saying the same thing? This wasn't a guy who was thought of that way, because I think you're right. They don't have the pitching right now that is going to get all that attention from the public. And when you think about it, they usually don't. Gavin Williams, sure, first-round pick. He was a top 50 prospect. Daniel Espino, yes, but...
Not a hot take.
Obviously didn't pan out or hasn't panned out. Tanner Bibee was kind of on the cusp there. But, Shane Bieber was never a top prospect. Remember when Plesac and Savali came up, it was kind of out of nowhere. Those guys weren't top prospects. So it's weird. It's they don't... I think what makes them good, what makes the pitching stuff so good is they take guys who maybe don't have elite stuff and they turn them into really capable starters. What we're seeing on the position player side is they've got really talented dudes. It's almost like help them, but also kind of get out of the way. Just let them hit. You don't need to find ways. You're not like Travis Bazzana or Ralphie Vallette. Like, these aren't guys who it's like, yeah, they make contact and like we're trying to add power. It's like, no, they're like good hitters, right? And now, good hitter. Just let him hit. So I think that's what's exciting is there's not like some huge hurdle these guys have to clear to make you believe that they're going to be really good one day.
What about being good right now? That's what we're focused on today. We want to know what's going to make this Guardians team have a repeat of 2024, but let's have a repeat in picking this bracket in a better situation, in a better way than we did last year, where we went through this exercise and we arrived at Tristan McKenzie being the Tristan of old, or at least some, like 80% of Tristan of old, was the most important thing for this team to go out and win the division, make the playoffs, and make some noise. That didn't happen, did it?
What are we supposed to learn from that exercise? It's honestly the perfect encapsulation.
The points are made up and
season,
nothing matters.
I mean, all the things that went wrong. Shane Bieber's gone a week into the season. McKenzie, Williams, Allen, they don't help you. It's not like this was a top 5 lineup in Major League Baseball. And yet, 3 wins away from the World Series. So maybe it makes sense that our March Madness bracket we were able to shred it to pieces, and they were still a good team.
Elite bullpen. That certainly helps.
That helps.
Having not just elite in the season that you play, but elite for your franchise, elite for baseball, doing things that no one has ever seen a group do.
And elite with guys that no one foresaw being elite.
Definitely helps. If you are unfamiliar with this exercise, you don't know what we're talking about, it is March Madness. We're not going to sit here and pick college games, but we do want to have a bracket of 16 things, people, elements, scenarios. I don't know what you've done. I'm not part of this year. That have to happen for the Guardians to have success in 2025. And Zach has put together a bracket for me. We're going to go through. We're going to look at them like matchups. 1 versus 16, the entire field. And then we'll be able to, at the end, as we have them all battle, arrive at what we think is the most important thing for this team to have success. And then we can all laugh at ourselves 6 months from now based on what our answer was.
Yeah, I started with a pool of 32, and then I was examining everybody's quad 1 wins and strength of schedule. And
did you put any of these together just to see who would come out on top of the first round play-in games?
Yeah, so we should actually start there. We have a play-in game.
We do.
We do.
Okay.
This is
down with that.
These are 2 16 seeds. And you'll have to pick who gets to advance to face the number 1 overall seed. So we'll start with the 2 16 seeds. Carlos Santana makes 39, the new 29, versus Austin Hedges finds a new crop top. Which is more important to the Guardians' success?
I always loved that Austin Hedges was part of last year's too, and more making fun of him than actually being a legitimate thing. And this is, again, it's a similar thing. I would love to have a Cinderella, like a crop top in the 16.
So, you know what's funny? Hedges and I sat down for a long time last week one day, and you know, I know there have been a couple of like national features written about him this year, and I know there's always debate about, hey, he's this great influence and a great leader and still a great defensive catcher versus, yeah, but the guy is the worst hitter in the league, right? And to me, it's not like an argument worth having because they signed him, so he's on the team, so he's just gonna have to deal with it. And like, I watch the influence he has in the clubhouse every day. Like, I see the value there. I also feel like Bo Naylor needs to hit 500 this year so that Hedges never has to see the batter's box. The guy is super intelligent, and even just sitting with him, and it was funny. At the end of the conversation, I said, man, sometimes you get so philosophical and like you make me think about things. And he goes, yeah, and the crazy part is, it's like the questions bring it out of me, and then when we're done talking, I completely forgot what I said. So he said, like, you'll have to listen back, and if I said anything profound, like, let me know. And I was like, so I listened back, and I'm like, there are like a list of 10 things that you'd want to put on a T-shirt or like put on a big sign to hang in the clubhouse or something. I don't know what the value is in all that. I don't know like what that tangibly means to a team. I don't think you can just say, hey, he was on the club in 22 and then he wasn't on the club in 23 and they didn't make the playoffs and his team went to the World Series. And then he was back in 24 and they went to the LCS. I don't think it's as simple as that, obviously. And it's really hard to quantify. But a smart front office and coaching staff,
yeah,
they want him around.
Well, think about this. There are players that have either had a prospect pedigree at some point in their career, have had past success, that are still sitting out there with no job, or had to think about, do I take a minor league deal with Team A or Team B? I'm not going to get a guaranteed deal. And here's Austin Hedges, as you said, is the worst hitter in baseball. And yet, he's never... There are no lack of jobs for him. Even at this stage in his career, there's no, he's lower on the priority poll for us, so we'll figure it out, and then we'll circle back, and we'll figure out what's going on with our backup catcher. It's like one of the first things the Guardians do. Need to make sure he's still around. You're right, you can't quantify it. I'm not even going to try. I'm not going to say that there's something definite about having him that makes you better. But when everybody just continues to believe it, at some point I just got to bow down to that take and say, okay, there's something to it. Good teams see value in having him around. Now, of course, also the good teams see value in making sure he doesn't get to the plate as much as possible. But beyond, we rip on his game as a hitter, but he still is a difference maker on the defensive side, too. This is not a man that you only have him around because of his nuggets of wisdom or how he makes people comfortable or says silly things or maybe even gets the troops all fired up when they need it and offers everyone the kick in the pants that they need. This is a man that's still one of the best defensive catchers in baseball, so there's still value there that he brings. But when we compare him, I can't believe we're spending this much time on a playing game. When we compare him to Carlos Santana, of course, Carlos Santana is the most important of these two elements. And I know you're joking at how you're getting there about Austin Hedges. But Carlos Santana, they signed him to, in the aggregate, be the replacement for Josh Naylor. Not get to the value the same way, not be even the same offensive player that Josh Naylor was, but because he's better on the defensive side. Maybe you like the switch hitting more. Maybe you think there's something to the lineup being better balanced against a lefty than you had with Josh Naylor. I don't know. However they got there, they handed him a lot of money, and you can say that there were other teams in the mix for him, and they needed to make that choice right in that very second. I don't know. That could be agent speak, but they rushed to make sure that he was signed the instant they sent Josh Naylor to Arizona. They were betting on him to continue to be a productive major league hitter that is going to be above average bat. And at first base, above average is not 100. You have to be better than that in terms of run creation, WRC+. He needs to be a guy that, even if he doesn't hit cleanup for the entire year, you have to be comfortable with him hitting in the middle of the lineup for this lineup to even come close to functioning the way that it is optimized. So I will say he needs to be in the field of 16 is very important for this group.
All right, so Carlos Santana, making 39 the new 29, advances to face the number 1 overall seed, Gavin Williams, frontline starter.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. I mean, just reference all of our shows the past several weeks. We've said it so much that Zach has claimed it's no longer a hot take to think that he's going to have success. That's how much we have said it on this show.
I am allowed to say that because I have been driving this bandwagon.
I think we're a little caught up in our own little bubble here, and we just assume, because we all dream big things for Gavin Williams, that if you told somebody nationally, hey, Gavin Williams is going to be a Cy Young finalist, or maybe not a finalist, but in the voting in the top 10, people would say, what? That's a hot take.
It's the reason The Athletic unveiled our inaugural power rankings of the year. And can you guess where the Guardians fell?
21.
Yes. Did you see it?
Yeah, I saw it.
Okay. And I think it's for reasons like this. If you're one of our voters, I've been a voter for years, and I was not asked to vote this year, and I don't know why, or at least not for this batch. It's because if you're a national writer and you're doing your surface level research on this team, and you're going to be like, all right, who's in the rotation? Oh, Gavin Williams. I vaguely recall him. He got lit up by the Yankees, I think, in the playoffs, and let's see, what were his numbers? Oh yeah, he was not good last year. Okay. Like you're not paying enough attention. You're not as well versed in it to know that, like, part of the reason why you might think that this team is better than the public would think is because someone like that could very well take a huge leap, and that makes a huge difference. That's why he is the number 1 seed.
And that's why I think we need a blend of these two things, because we have been digging in on this for years now. This is years in the making, crafting this hot take of Gavin Williams being this great pitcher. We've seen it in brief spurts here and there. We saw it certainly towards the end of his rookie year, really felt like he was coming on and really starting to blossom and show that front of the rotation form. And then last year, out of the gate, he stumbled, and we didn't see him for a while. And that really cut into probably his entire season, not really feeling right at any point, on top of also going through the same things that every second-year pitcher does in Major League Baseball, beyond just not feeling 100% where he wanted to be in delivery and health and bounce back and all those things. But we've laid it out. Tanner Bibee, we sort of take for granted that he's just going to continue to be a rock-solid force at the top of this rotation. And if we do that, which may be dangerous, but you also add in a Gavin Williams being that front of the rotation starter, starting to fulfill that promise that we felt years ago, then this team definitely is a force to be reckoned with in this division, just by those two performing like front of the rotation starters. So between him and Santana, yes, I think Santana's important, but Gavin Williams is going to be a hard one to bet against in this field, I think. He's extremely important. Maybe, hot take, the number 1 seed may be the most important thing in this bracket field.
16 seeds over 1 seeds started to become a little too trendy, so we'll go with chalk there.
Yeah, you got to bounce back.
All right, let's move to the South region. The 8 seed, Jose Ramirez, top 3 MVP season, versus the 9 seed, Brian Rocchio, a WRC plus of at least 100.
Oh, okay. That feels criminal to put Jose Ramirez anywhere close to an 8 seed. But I see what you're saying.
He had a really soft non-conference schedule.
I see what you're saying,
just
though.
Myles Garrett dinosaur cupcake after Myles Garrett dinosaur cupcake.
This is why it's phrased the way that we do. It's not who is more important, Rocchio or Ramirez. It's the scenario that you lay out, him being a top 3 finalist for MVP. And Jose could still be great and can finish 5th or 6th. But I think it's because they didn't make these big, massive, sweeping upgrades to the offense. We've talked about it many times. The 2 places that they could get significantly better are 2 guys that were just terrible with the bat last year. One of them's Rocchio. The other one's Bo Naylor. So I think if Rocchio raises himself to be a league average bat at shortstop and play very good, if not elite defense, and be a Gold Glove finalist there at shortstop, that's a big upgrade compared to the shortstop play you got last year. I think I'm going to take Rocchio here. I think Rocchio advances as the 9 seed because Jose can still be great but not be a finalist for MVP, and you get everything you want out of that guy.
Yeah, we're also used to that. I mean, he's top 5.
It's boring.
Top 5 MVP every season. We have not seen Rocchio. Well, we saw it for 3 weeks in October, but we don't know like what sort of impact that would make over 6 months. So, and hey, 8-9 games are usually coin flips. Don't overthink it.
I don't think this was a coin flip. I think this was a runaway winner.
Wow.
By the 9 seed. Yeah,
Whoa.
I think it was easy. It was easy.
All right, are you ready?
Whoever is seeding these needs to rethink what they're doing here.
So remember when Virginia got upset by UMBC? It was the first ever 16-over-1.
Okay, yeah.
And, I mean, it was humiliating for Virginia. And the style that they always played under Tony Bennett, where they're trying to win games like 54-46, it came back to haunt them. And I remember like as the game was happening, the UMBC, whoever was running the social media account, became like a celebrity because his tweets were so funny and they couldn't believe what they were watching.
That's now I'm remembering. Yeah, okay.
And Virginia came back the next year and won the national title. The number 4 seed, Tristan McKenzie.
Wow.
He was the winner last year of our bracket and really, in reality, got knocked out in the first round. And now he's back. So the 4 seed, the old Tristan McKenzie returns. Shades of 2022. Against the 13 seed out of the Big West, Jhonkensy Noel, 25-plus home runs.
Wow. It still is a little bit wild to me, given where we were at this time last year and recognizing how important Tristan was and the fact that he not only gave them nothing, he was sort of taking value away. He was so bad. And not only the days that he pitched, but what did that do to the bullpen? You got to tax him. He's coming out early in games. He's not able to pitch deep into them, so you're making them worse on the days that they're pitching, and then probably worse the day after. They have to figure out a game plan, even though they just got taxed the day before. So I would love to, because I love Tristan as a person. I think he's a very interesting player, and when he's good, it's so cool to just listen to him talk about the game. But saying all that, he was a non-factor for me last year, for this group last year, ended up being a non-factor. And because that happened, I think the team learned how you move forward without him. They had to. They didn't have a choice. And we've said that this rotation, while it may not have the 5 guys that are clear today, they have enough names in the mix that I'm confident that they can figure it out for 4 of the 5 spots. Pretty good. And they'll live on that last one. They'll find a way to kind of put it together. And I don't think it has to necessarily feature Tristan McKenzie as part of it. I'm not saying you have to kick into the curb, but maybe he's destined for the bullpen. Maybe something else is at play here. Maybe a trade. I don't know. But I think they've learned how to survive without Tristan and still be good. And I think they're better equipped to handle it this year than they were even last year. So because of that, I think Tristan goes down in the first round.
Whoa.
Finding some offense and some power, and Jhonkensy Noel not being a guy that was just a flash for a minute, and a cool story. Hey, you remember that time? Big Christmas hit that big postseason home run.
Okay,
and then
wait, do you remember that time? That was really cool.
Never saw him. That was amazing. We should go back and rewatch that. Oh, wait, we did that. We did that this offseason. It was a fun time for all. I think getting offense out of that right field spot, if that's where he would live in this scenario, I think that's more important than just Tristan showing up. And maybe I'm clouded by, I think it's more likely that Jhonkensy Noel hits 25 than Tristan McKenzie bounces back.
That's the thing. What I'm hearing in your voice is that you just don't believe in Tristan.
Until I have a reason to do it, I can't. And I feel bad because I like Tristan. I really want him to do well. But how can I believe in him until he gives us a reason to believe in him? And I think he would say that about himself.
Yeah, I don't know what the issue is. I assume it's command. That's what Stephen Vogt and Chris Antonetti have said. But obviously it's more nuanced than that. Watching him in that start at Surprise Stadium the other day and against the Royals, he didn't walk anyone. Great. The velocity's there. Great. But he's just not hitting his spots. And I don't know, we've seen him become too predictable with the fastball. And that's burned him in the past. And I just don't know. I don't know, and I'm not smart enough to be a pitching guru and know, if there's something off with the mechanics or if it's his intent. It's the pitch sequencing. What? But it just still doesn't look like. Yeah, I don't care what his stats are. Like the 0 walks is important. The velocity is important. But like, what pitches are you throwing and what counts? What counts are you getting to that dictate what pitches you're throwing? And it just doesn't look like he's not efficient. He's not sharp. He's not just like getting ahead and putting guys away. It just doesn't quite look right. And I think you get to a point in spring training where you can tell, like Gavin Williams has it. Tanner Bibee has it. Even Ben Lively, like for the most part this spring, he just has had it, right? And with Tristan, it's just like, there's just something off.
Well, think about it this way, too, as a hitter. If you can eliminate the other pitches, and in this case, for him, Tristan, when he was thriving, fastball up, curveball down, it's not a hard thing to figure out what the game plan is, right, for him. But when he could spin the curveball, throw it for strikes, and then bury it down in the zone, when you can do both of those things, then it's harder to figure out what he's trying to do, because then the curveball could be a strike. You could be looping it in at the bottom of the zone, or it could be buried in the dirt and you're swinging through it and you look silly. But now, even if the fastball is coming in harder, if I know it's going to be in the upper quadrant of the zone, and I know based on data maybe how much ride he's getting on the fastball, I can have a more targeted approach. I can swing. If I'm thinking, if I see something up in the zone, it's going to be the fastball. It's going to be the fastball, and I know what the ride looks like, so I have to swing in a certain direction towards this pitch. And if it is the curveball, okay, maybe I look silly, but if it's the fastball, I'm going to crush it out of the stadium. So I just wonder how much it's an inability to do anything he wants with the secondary stuff that helps eliminate just, okay, if it's a fastball, I'm just going to gear up for it at the top of the zone, because hitters are good. They adjust. This is not 5 years ago, maybe even longer than that, when pitchers were really changing how they were going to attack and being comfortable with living with that fastball up instead of always thinking down in the zone, down. No, I'm going to throw it up, and you're going to swing through it. Now hitters, they know that's what game plans are for a lot of these pitchers, so they make adjustments. But if Tristan can't command that curveball to be down in the zone and throw it for strikes too, it's really easy to zero in on what you want to crush. And what do you got, like a 40-50% chance that it's going to be that when you swing? Maybe even more than that if the command's not good on any particular day.
All right, so you like the 13 over 4?
I'm going to take
Yale
Noel
over Texas A&M vibes.
God, I really hate pooping on Tristan here, because I hate it. But that's just the way it comes across. I feel bad about it.
All right, well, good luck with this one. How about the 5 seed? Second base is not a black hole versus the 12 seed, Tanner Bibee.
Oh, wow. Wait, which one is ranked what?
Second base is the 5.
Okay.
You know, they always say make sure you pick 112 versus 5 upset.
I think I'm going to do it here. I think Bibee being
so wait, you just
legitimate.
picked Giankensi over Tristan because you said they need offense somewhere, and I trust the rotation. But now,
I got it. I got the 25, right?
Okay.
So now I'm gonna move forward. Tanner Bibee is extremely important, and if he is not just the guy that fronts the rotation because you have nobody better, but he fronts the rotation because he's one of the 10 best in baseball to do it, and I'm sprinting to hand him the ball, not because there's nobody better. That would mean a lot for this group. More so than second base. They didn't get a lot of offense last year from second base. Now they had some of the best defense you'll ever see at that position, and there's going to be a change there. But I think they can survive if it's anywhere close to what they were already getting at a second base, if Bibee is looking like one of the best pitchers in baseball. Also paired with Gavin Williams, too. That would be nice. And plus, I want to be right in my hot take. I want to say they both finish in the top 10 in Cy Young. I think Bibee finishing as the Cy? That would be pretty important for this group. more so than just second base.
Where are you at on Travis Bazzana?
In what way?
He's the long-term answer at second base, right? Can the long-term start in August?
Yeah, why not?
And then you're not worried about whether it's a black hole or not because you're hitched to that wagon anyway, and you trust that he's going to live up to the hype?
Yeah.
There's a long way to go. Like, I'm not trying to say this guy's ready for the majors or is close to it, but I think the second base not being a black hole, like this, it's all temporary. You know, like even if I think Juan Brito could be a good major league hitter, but eventually he's going to be a good major league hitter at a position that's not second base because that's going to be Bazzana's position. So I guess I would believe even more in the 12 seed here if Bazzana's lighting it up at the plate in the minors, and then it's like, okay, well, we just got to hold on for another couple months.
Yeah, I feel like the more important thing at second base is feeling better about it when it's winning time in August and September.
Yeah.
If they can get to a point, even if it's not Bazzana, but if they can just arrive at the answer by the end of the year, even if the numbers don't overall look good for the position for the entirety of the year, if they feel like they found at least a short-term answer as they're trying to chase the division title again and make the playoffs and make noise, then that's probably more important. But a full season of Bibee being front of the rotation, one of the best pitchers in the American League, all-star, Cy Young candidate, that's huge for this group. Because the bullpen's not going to be as good as it was last year. You just can't expect that.
You don't know that.
It's kind of like I knew where you were going.
The 3 seed. The bullpen repeats its league best output.
Repeats? Are you just saying best in the league or does exactly what they did last year?
Best in the league.
Okay. Got it.
The 3 seed. Against the 14 seed, the plucky mid-major, Chase DeLauder avoids the injured list once he returns from the injured list.
So no longer finds himself on the injured list once he's back off the injured list.
Correct.
I mean, we've seen what a bad bullpen can do to a season. A bad bullpen can sink a team, and we all want Chase DeLauder to be up here at some point. But to me, you can survive without Chase DeLauder arriving this year. I don't think they can survive with just a bullpen that's average. Now, what's the difference between being the best in the league and being among the top 5? I don't know if there's a big difference there, but they need to be very, very good. If they take any sort of step back and you're giving away games that you're in a position to win, that'd be massive in a negative way. So I'll say easily the bullpen advances here. Very important.
So the bullpen advances to face the winner of 6 seed. New father, Shane Bieber, embodies Matthew Boyd. Against the 11 seed, Kyle Manzardo, 25 plus home runs. Oh, my goodness.
This is the hardest one.
Those 6-11 ones are tough.
This is how I envisioned both of these being at the end. I thought these two men would find themselves in the championship game. They're matched up in the first round. Are you kidding me? I don't know what I'm going to do here. I'm going to phone a friend here. Walk me through what you're thinking, because I need some help on this one.
So I think Manzardo is going to be a good hitter. I think there are questions on whether he is a guy who you want in the lineup 155 times or just against righties. But he deserves the opportunity to prove that it's the former. Thing is, he could be a guy who hits 280 with 20 homers and 40 doubles, and that's still an awesome hitter. I think the fact that Bieber, it's a huge unknown. Every part of me wants to say, we've never seen Shane Bieber not pitch really well. Every year, even if he's different, even if he's had to reinvent himself, the velo's different, the strikeout rate is lower, it's a new pitch he's leaning on. No matter what version it is, it's always great. So I'm having trouble in my mind tempering my expectations and saying, well, he's coming off elbow surgery. And he really had, he hasn't pitched consistently since early 2023. I mean, it's been 2 years. So to just say this guy's going to be the Bieber we all know, and look how good he was before he got hurt last year, and he's going to be awesome. That seems so unfair, but I can't envision him any other way. So I lean toward the 6th seed here because I feel like there are the number here with Manzardo, he doesn't have to reach that number. It would be helpful, but I feel like getting that boost from Bieber, if he is that guy that we're used to, and it's, Boyd joined them in August. Bieber could very well be back long before that.
Yeah, June, July.
So if you're getting 3 months of Bieber, if you're getting 15 starts of him, and they're good, that can make a huge difference. And then your questions on McKenzie, Allen, even if you still don't quite comprehend the metrics behind Lively's success, things like that, that's one less question mark you have to answer.
I've already said that I think this is going to be fun. That he's coming back off the surgery. He can have confidence now that he can just let his stuff go. Not be thinking about, oh, my arm is hanging on by a thread here. Every pitch might be my last. I think he can have confidence to just, here's my stuff again. And I can pitch like exactly how I want to. I'm not saying it's easy, and not saying the recovery is guaranteed, because it's not. Even with the advancements they've made in that surgery, it's not. To expect that he's just going to come back and be as smooth a transition back to pitching again like Boyd, it's probably foolish, but I'm with you. I believe in this guy. I really do. And I'm glad you walked me through it, because I'm thinking a lot of the same things that you are. Manzardo can still be a good force in this lineup. He could still be a top of the order hitter and not have to hit for a ton of power. He can hit 17 to 20, but a lot of doubles, a lot of walks, and be a 130 WRC plus. It's very possible for him to do that. For this team to get where they want to go, they need that. They need a Bieber rejoining this team and looking like a front of the rotation starter. And then if they do, for as much as we laugh about, this is just like picking up a guy at the deadline. Zach, there is nobody that any team would trade for that would be better than Shane Bieber.
You don't know that.
Shane Bieber being Shane Bieber. There's nobody that they could trade for that would be better than that.
What if the Dodgers fall out of contention?
What if the Dodgers, yes.
And
okay. Sure.
Are you ready for a sneaky 7 seed?
I love sneaky 7 seeds.
This is like a team that had a ton of talent, and for whatever reason, maybe there were some injuries along the way and kind of flew under the radar. And then they won their conference tournament, and all of a sudden everyone's like, whoa. 7 seed. And you can interpret this however you want. 4 words. Carl Willis Devil Magic. 10 seed. Lane Thomas contract year cash in.
Oh. This one, I might take it back.
Double overtime?
This one is extremely tough. I don't know if they can survive without either one of those things. So in this case, I'm just telling you one is slightly more important than the other, even though they both are extremely important. I'm going to go with Lane Thomas.
So you just, Carl Willis coaching 5 Cy Young winners is just a fluke?
But what are you saying here?
Whatever you want me to be saying.
Devil magic, are we assuming that the other end of the spectrum, someone puts a curse on the team? Then yes, it might be hard to overcome a curse.
He is important with Gavin Williams being the guy we all think he's going to be. You just picked Tanner Bibee to win the Cy Young. Luis Ortiz, he's got a lot to work out here.
What are you saying? Are you saying that he disappears, like he Thanos snapped out of existence? What are you saying?
I don't know what that means. I just Carl Willis is an important guy, right?
I agree with that, but so they forget every bit of knowledge he dropped on them up to this point?
Yeah, he's the reason.
So all of the development they put in before today, it no longer matters. The devil magic is gone. So they were all bad pitchers.
Why don't you tell me what you like about Lane Thomas?
I just feel like it's the one thing they didn't have, even after they acquired him in the regular season, was what he brings, that power speed combo that could be a nice complement, a little bit lower in the order than what Jose is obviously doing at the top. He's such a threat against the lefties. And we saw in the postseason what having Lane Thomas can do for this lineup. Big home runs were hit. And the fact that he can play a center field spot, I don't know if it's going to be good. I think he's fine out there. I don't think he hurts you playing center field, at least not noticeably. So I think that's fine, at least for now. If he looks like the guy he was in the postseason, or even go back 2 years ago, the guy he was with Washington when he's hitting 36 doubles and 28 home runs and stealing some bags, that's a valuable player getting that out of center field. They haven't had a player like that capable of playing center field. So I think Grady Sizemore?
I know, right?
That's wild. So he's the guy that can give them something we didn't see much of until the postseason. And if you get anything close to a full season of him being a legitimate threat, power, and speed, and doing that out of center field, wow. Well, that's a big thing for this lineup. So I think I have to take him to advance, even though I'm not saying that Carl, I don't know what you're saying here about Carl Willis. That he just does. If you're saying that he no longer exists, then I would take Carl Willis. That they forgot everything he taught them, I'd take Carl Willis. But if you're saying he's not there to maybe add a little bit more magic, then I think I'll take the actual production on the field from Lane Thomas here.
So
but
you
I think
Carl Willis should have retired? That's what I'm hearing.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Yes, that's it. Thank you.
The 2 seed, Bo Naylor, offensive force, against the 15 seed, Luis Ortiz, does what he did last year.
Okay. I think that I'm not going to spend as much time on this one because I can give you why Ortiz is important, but I already said it with Rocchio. 2 spots in this lineup that would be instant, massive upgrades if the guys that played that position last year are actual forces or at least capable offensive players. It's shortstop and catcher, and Bo Naylor advances here easily in my mind. If he is a 105 WRC plus compared to, what was he last year? 70-something or 68 or I don't remember what it was off the top of my head. But that's a massive swing from that position. And if he's someone that's not hitting in the 8 or 9 spot, but you actually like him hitting 5th, 6th, or 7th and doing damage, big addition to this offense. I will say Bo Naylor being offensive force, or however you phrased it.
Yeah, and it's like you still have to prove it to earn the acclaim, but it's another example of, I see the Guardians ranked 21st, and it's because, well, their catchers stink, right? Bo Naylor had a bad year offensively, and Austin Hedges is the alternative. So, whereas, he should be better, but another one of those where he's going to have to prove it. All right.
74 to 105. Can you imagine a 30-point swing in WRC plus? That's a big upgrade.
Right. And also just that way you're playing 5-6 times a week and not leaning on Hedges, who I don't think will take that sort of leap. So you went with the 1, the 9, the 13, the 12, the 3, the 6, the 10, and the 2. That's a pretty
diverse, yeah.
Yeah, pretty good balance. So let's swing back up to the top of the bracket. You've got the 1 seed, Gavin Williams, frontline starter, against the 9, Brian Rocchio, league average hitter or better.
So these will be, we don't have to dive into them as deeply now, but I think I'll take Gavin Williams here. I really think it's going to be tough to take down Gavin. They really need that.
Like the Cooper Flag of this tournament. Do you know who that is?
No. Enlighten me.
He's Duke's star player and
okay.
The likely number 1 pick.
Okay.
All right, so
it's got to be Gavin. Got to be Gavin.
So Gavin will try to get to the championship game. He's in the Final Four Who will he face? Will he face Jhonkensy Noel, 25-plus home runs, or Tanner Saibi?
Oh. This might be selfish, but I want to see Bibee Williams. I want to see it.
It's like Duke, North Carolina meeting in the Final Four a couple years ago.
You may say, we see it all the time, it's boring, but yet there you are tuning in, you want to see it. But I think it's going to be Bibee Williams.
How about that? In the Final Four.
Yeah.
All right, so then we've got the bullpen repeating its league best output against Shane Bieber embodying Matthew Boyd.
Oh, my God. How? How am I supposed to pick a winner of that?
Well, the bullpen can repeat being the best in the league if the starting rotation is a little bit better so they don't get used more. And for that to happen, it's got to be Bieber.
Okay. Yeah. Right. Oh, my goodness. And how do I justify, if I were to take the bullpen, how do I justify taking him over or them over Bieber, but then would be in the championship game against one of these other starters?
You got to play the game in front of you, man. Be where your feet are, one game at a time.
But I want to remain consistent in my reasoning why I want to take certain things, and I feel like I'm going to get inconsistent when I match them up against the starter later on.
I think there's a difference between Bieber, who has the question marks of just injuries and hasn't pitched, against someone like Gavin Williams, who, I mean, the way you described Tristan McKenzie was kind of as a net negative last year, and I think Williams is pretty similar, no? And going from that to like ace level ability for 30 starts instead of a max of 15, I think that...
Yeah. You're making too much sense here. I don't like it.
Or maybe the bullpen is the winner.
Well, tell me this. This is how I'm going to pick the winner. This is not scientific at all. How many postseason starts did Bieber make?
0.
Thank you for the audio listeners as well. How many starts did he make in May, June, July, August, September?
0.
Also, yeah. How important was that bullpen last year? Extremely. So because I saw them get to the ALCS without Bieber, foolishly, I'm going to say it's the bullpen. The bullpen has to be really, really still pretty good.
It also could be
if
different.
Not the best.
Think about, I mean, the opening day bullpen is going to be weird because you're going to have Walter at this exact moment. Like Walters maybe makes it, but maybe makes it only because a bunch of other guys are injured. Like Sobrowski won't be on there. Who am I forgetting? Like Enright's hurt right now. Alaman's hurt right now. And these are guys you could see later for sure, who have really good stuff. We'll get our first view of like Seawald and see how they use him. And then at some point, like, there are going to be guys in the rotation. Like, someone is going to not make the rotation and wind up in the bullpen to start the year. I don't know if it'll be Logan Allen, if it'll be Colby Allard. I don't know how Vince Velasquez fits into all this. Down the line, like, Doug Nikhazy will pitch for this team in some capacity. So I'm just curious to see how different, like, the opening day bullpen is compared to the final product. That happens every year. But last year, like, yeah, it had Tyler Beatty at the beginning, and Scott Barlow didn't make it the entire way. But for the most part, like, it was pretty consistent. It was just guys solidifying their roles, right?
Yeah, it took a month maybe to get there, but beyond that, it was just how you're rolling.
And that's what is so atypical, and that's also what made the bullpen so good, is it was so consistent. And it was the same guys all year. And I think that like, I could absolutely see Andrew Walters by August being like an eighth inning dude. So I'm curious to see how this evolves, because I think there could be more evolution this year in the bullpen. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be unreliable. I think it could still be really good. So just something to watch.
I mean, it changes year to year. Even the guys that were great last year, is there any guarantee that Hunter Gaddis needs to be in the 7th or 8th inning this year? Or is he just going to fade more to being the 6th inning guy?
Yeah, it's like they need those guys to be their 2024 versions early, when maybe they're dealing with some of these injuries, and then you have reinforcements coming that are intriguing reinforcements.
Yeah, I would not be surprised at all to see them struggle a little bit coming out of the gate, but then see them catch fire as the year progresses. And you learn who needs to be in what role, because just because a guy was elite in a role last year, it does not mean that he's going to be elite in this role, especially given the workload that they had last year, too. So you don't know how guys are going to bounce back and recover every day.
So you going bullpen over Bieber?
Going to go bullpen over Bieber.
All right. Shane, TJ sending you to paternity leave. Lane Thomas versus Bo Naylor.
I think it's going to be Bo. Really need to get something out of that offensive side of the catcher position. And if they get that, that helps mitigate maybe Lane Thomas not being playoff Lane Thomas. And also, wouldn't it be nice to have that catcher position settled for a minute before we're all screaming for Cooper Ingle? Yes. Yeah, that'd be nice.
I think the committee did a pretty good job here. Your final four is a 1 seed, a 12 seed, a 2 seed, and a 3 seed.
A Cinderella and kind of who you
And
expect
chalk.
to be there. Okay.
All right. They were taken in the same draft. They were the top 2 pitching prospects not named Daniel Espino. 2 springs ago, they had a few times when they would pitch on adjacent backfields at the complex, and everybody in the front office would run back there to watch them. And they would have little like side wagers of who could throw more first pitch strikes or who could throw more curveballs for strikes. They broke into the majors together, basically. And here they are once again, pitted against each other. Gavin Williams, frontline starter, versus Tanner Bibee, Cy Young winner.
Wow.
Which is more important to the Guardians' success?
This is one of those games that
2025.
would feel like a track meet from the very jump. Just back and forth, body blow after body blow. Somebody looking for the knockout blow. A little bit of a run, come right back. The other team gets right back into the game, has a run of their own. Down to the wire, back and forth. And in the end, Gavin Williams survives.
I think that there's a reason he's the 1 and Bibee's the 12, right? We've seen Bibee be good. We've never seen him not. We know he's like, as much as we talk up Gavin Williams, this is still Bibee's staff.
I feel bad. We do not give him the love he deserves.
But Gavin going from what he gave you last year to what you dream he could give you this year, the exercise is about the difference making. So in the end, Cinderella's slipper doesn't fit or whatever.
Sure.
Or she turns into a pumpkin?
I think you try to look, okay, what's the other end of the... If he's not winning the Cy, he could still just be very good.
Yeah.
He could still just carry a 3.30 ERA and give you 175 innings or 180 innings, something like that. Or 200. Could be a hot take. But yeah, just him being solidifying force at the top, especially early when you're not sure what you're going to get out of the rest of the rotation, very important. But Gavin, just having Bibee do that without a Gavin Williams is not as impactful as Gavin Williams ascending to that throne. You know, the other side of this is kind of what I'm thinking.
The difference here is Bibee has a high floor. We've seen what Williams' floor is last year. So you go with the guy with the worse downside?
TV executives are salivating. A 1 seed in the finals? Yeah, that's what you want.
And he'll either face a 2 or a 3. Bo Naylor versus the bullpen. Who you got?
Bo's important, but I still think it's the bullpen here.
Wow, okay.
I still think it's the bullpen.
You just
really
don't care about this lineup.
I just want to avoid you having to 6 years from now talk about this bullpen the same way you did the one that had your boy in it.
We had Nick Goody on a few weeks ago, and he was part of that. We should have mentioned. Would have loved to get his take on Alexio Gondo and Jeff Beliveau and Neil Ramirez. and all the rest. All right, title
Really
game
important.
on a Monday night at like 10:30 p.m. Eastern. It'll tip. Gavin Williams, the 1 seed, against the 3 seed, the Bullpen. Which is more important to this team's success?
I do need to remind myself here. Even though we're not really establishing tiers, we are establishing tiers here as we work through this, either subconsciously or maybe even consciously. So when I think about it, what I'm going to be saying is one is important and one is not, but that's not what we've established throughout the show.
Only one team can cut down the nets.
Yeah,
man.
but it doesn't mean you had a bad season, right?
The team that loses, everybody's going to enter the transfer portal.
I can't believe I'm going to do it. I am so nervous about a bullpen sinking an entire season. And while Gavin Williams would be critically important for the day that he pitches, and you can make a case is important for the day before and the day after as well, the bullpen pitches every single day. They have their fingerprints on every single game.
I don't know about that.
I mean,
if you're up 7-2 every day.
Yeah, because this offense does that a lot.
Well, you think so because you don't think any of these hitters are important. They're going to be fine.
I think in the end, I'm going to have to take the bullpen. And you know why I'm doing this? I think subconsciously here. I think this is what I'm doing.
Too much Gavin Williams hype.
Well, maybe some of that. So I'm going to hit the brakes just a little bit. But the one thing when I think of worst case scenarios, what's the worst thing that could happen? Someone come back to me and say, remember when you guys talked about what was most important about this team and you build out all these players up and you said how important Gavin Williams was, and he had that season, by the way. And also, this team is 3 games below 500 because they can't find anyone to pitch the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning. Good call, you idiots. So that's what I'm thinking.
But don't you think they have enough?
Protecting myself.
Don't you think they have enough depth in the bullpen? Do they have anyone else with Gavin Williams' upside?
No, but you didn't say.
But it's the upside we're scratching here.
The way that you phrased it is the bullpen, which is whoever is in the mix. Yes, but I'm saying they have to have that group of 5-6 guys consistently that they trust. If they can't find that this year for whatever reason, I think they're not going to get to where they want. That bullpen is extremely important. Gavin is extremely important, but so is the bullpen. So is that bullpen.
We also proved last year that this exercise do not lean on this in your viewing or projecting of the upcoming season.
Thank you for dropping that an hour and 9 minutes in so they didn't waste their time.
Tristan McKenzie won this bracket last year and had zero impact on 92 wins in a ALCS trip. So you're going with the bullpen. That's interesting.
Okay. So I guess I did it for an hour and 10 minutes now. If you would have done this exercise too, I mean, you walked yourself through it, who would have won?
I think Gavin Williams would have won because it is no other part of the team has that dramatic
I agree with
jump.
You. Yeah.
And the bullpen, I guess I think of this exercise more as like the importance is it could go this way or it could go this way. And the bullpen was already as good as it gets last year. And I feel like they have a higher floor. So even if it doesn't repeat the league best output, it should still be safely in the top 10 of bullpens, probably the top 5.
If you phrase it that way, I agree with you.
Whereas Gavin Williams could be a Cy Young Award winner or a complete zero this year. And I think I think he will be really good, but like, how am I supposed to know for sure? That's a huge,
I agree with you.
Huge spectrum of potential outcomes.
Just trying to play devil's advocate here, I could play the same game and say league best bullpen output and Gavin Williams, who has like a 3.6 ERA. Still important. 3.7 ERA. Still important. Still soaking up WAR for you. You need that. What I think you take away from this exercise is Gavin Williams is important. The bullpen is important.
Yep.
Bibee is important.
I think
I mean,
a lot of people could
all
do
these
this and
things.
come to different conclusions. That's why everybody can fill out a bracket. And should we
Thank
do a
you.
bracket pool? Can we assign points somehow? Can we just add
Points.
up WAR at the end
God,
of the year? And
Sure. Throw that on me right this second and expect me to have that thrown together in 5 seconds? Why not? But it is a good point. I would like to have everyone else see what they arrive at.
yeah.
Let's try to throw that together, and once I actually get that put together, I'll throw that in the Discord or somewhere. Or maybe I'll drop a link in the community tab at YouTube or on X. Somewhere you'll be able to find it, or just reach out.
I could see people saying Brian Rocchio is the most important. I could see people saying second base is the most important. I could see people saying Lane Thomas is the most important. I could see people saying Shane Bieber is the most important. I mean, it's I keep coming back to, I think that's why this team is overlooked is, and I'm not even saying that that's wrong either, but they are banking on a lot of guys a lot of guys whose seasons could go one of two ways, choosing the right path.
Do you think anybody could pick the Austin Hedges crop top to be the overall victor?
Sometimes, man, it's all about vibes. I don't know.
Is that how you're filling out your bracket?
We couldn't explain how this
Vibes?
team did what it did last year. I think the answer was just vibes and belly buttons.
That'll be your new book. Can't wait to read it.
If they would have won the World Series, we would have called it Vibes, Belly Buttons, and Big Christmas. How the Guardians won.
God, I want to live in the universe where that happened. And you smile more getting your coffee. That would just make the world better.
The problem is I smile plenty once I've had my coffee.